Erik, is that a free whiskey? You corporate whore! Hello, and welcome to the Whisky Trials. So, I'm going to do a whisky talk, another whisky talk, and this one is because of recent events. You may have seen it. That was started with Ralfy. Erik exacerbated the situation, and so did I. It's Whiskygate. It's Whiskygeddon. It's World War Whiskey. What am I talking about? Okay, I am talking about the video that Ralfy put out. It's just here on my phone, sorry. Malt Message from the Bothy. It was 1 week ago he put that out. And essentially, it was his reiteration to both his malt mates, marketing people in particular. Don't send him anything. He doesn't want any gifts, as he calls them. So he doesn't want any freebies. Don't send Ralfy any freebies. Whether you're a malt mate, his best pal, a marketing person, a distillery owner, he doesn't care. He doesn't want those freebies. In fact, he's going to count it against you if you send them. In general, I don't have a problem with that. It's great. He's got his stance on it, and it's an easy one to say. Well, it's nice and black and white. It's integrity. It should be. It's an easy thing to say. This is the way everybody should be. Now, with that aside, I had no problem with his video, pretty much up until the point where he said that I'm paraphrasing here, but he doesn't accept gifts because he's independent. And so essentially saying that other whiskey tubers that do accept free gifts or samples from other people aren't independent, which I completely disagree with. I can see the complete black and white argument, and I can see it from Ralfy's side, and I can see the way he wants to go down that route. It's fine if you've got the money to be able to fund those things. And it's not even necessarily like a thing about money. It's like you could be on a certain whiskey journey. For instance, I'm mostly about Scotch. It's all about the Scotch for me. So when a company like McMira reached out to me and said, "Do you want a free bottle? A little freebie?" I was like, yeah, because you know what? I wouldn't have bought that otherwise. So I wouldn't be able to tell people about it, and I wouldn't have had that experience. Now, that's not necessarily a money issue. Like, I could afford to buy a McMira, but what it is it's a path I wasn't going to go down. Not because I'm ignorant or I think Swedish whiskey's rubbish. Just because I am on the Scotch journey, and there are so many Scotches out there that I haven't tried. There's so many whiskies out there that I want to try. So it's not just about the financial aspect of it. It's quite nice to get sent something that you wouldn't have normally bought. That's one thing. So that was the thing that started this whole Whiskygate. I'm going to keep calling it Whiskygate, I think. So Whiskygate started with Ralfy saying, don't send me anything because I'm independent, right? I kind of disagree with that a little bit. For me, for one, just because I got a free bottle of McMira, doesn't feel like I'm not independent anymore. Could have given it a rubbish review. In fact, you can go and see my review. I actually said, would I buy another one? I say no. Then this is where it all kind of kicked off on Facebook. So Erik Waite, go and check out his channel. Really great insight into whiskey. What Erik said was that, and this is almost a direct quote, "I wish all whiskey tubers were more like Ralfy and would stop whoring themselves out." Sorry, Ruth, I said the word again. This was a big conversation. Actually, if you go to the Whisky Trials group, you'll see that Ruth was very unhappy about the use of the term. And you know what? I can totally see why. In the modern context, that word is used quite a lot, and it's generally a unisex kind of term. People could say, like, you're a corporate whore kind of thing. So in general, I kind of think of it as a unisex term. But if you actually look up the definition, it is very specific. It is a derogatory term, used against women. So it shouldn't be used in that general sort of speech that way, because that's not what it means. That's not what it's for. It's a very derogatory term. So that's the last time I'm going to say it, Ruth. But this is that. So that's what Erik posted up on Facebook, and that's kind of what got me riled up a little bit. It was it felt like an attack on other whiskey tubers. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm like this tiny little whiskey tuber that nobody cares about. You know, I'm unlikely to get sent a bunch of free stuff. In fact, I've only ever had 2 free bottles, both from McMira. And yeah, I'm not really fighting this thing or this corner from my own standpoint. It just kind of, it felt like a generalistic attack, and I think that's what really annoyed me, because he said, I wish all whiskey tubers were like Ralfy and would stop themselves out. And I was like, well, who are these people? Who are these whiskey tubers that are doing this? Who's he talking about? And why say all whiskey tubers? It's a very high horsey, generalistic kind of statement, which just kind of got my back up a little bit. So anyway, we had this massive discussion, Erik and I, on the comments on his Facebook post. And it was a good discussion. Like, I wasn't necessarily getting angry about it or whatever. It was a good kind of debate. Both sides said what they needed to say. You know, there's a little bit of winding up going on, a little bit of humour and stuff. But yeah, I didn't think much of it. I just thought, you know, it was a decent discussion. And actually, it was quite late on at night. We'd probably both had a few drinks. But I wanted to continue it the next day. And I actually was going to reach out to Erik and say, look, let's take what we were talking about on Facebook and let's discuss it in more detail and see, you know, where these grey areas are. Because I felt like Erik's views were very, very black and white. Only to find the next day that Erik had completely deleted the post, but then reposted it. So deleted the post that I'd commented on and said exactly the same thing in a fresh post. I was like, hey, what's that about, Erik? Come on. Like, you know, spent a good bit of time putting those comments in and having a discussion with you, and then you just censor it, essentially. Just delete it because, well, what is the reason? This is part of the reason I'm making this video, is to reach out to Erik and ask him exactly why he did that. Because was it because he was ashamed of what he said? I don't think so, because then he reposted the actual post. So on his repost, I said, hey, what happened to the good discussion we were having? And then that post disappeared. So it's like he just wants to brush it under the rug, which also annoys me, because it's like, well, if you make a statement, then either have the balls to stand by that statement, or if you feel like, you know, your ego's been bruised, or maybe you were in the wrong, then address it properly, like an adult, and say, do you know what, guys, you know, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but, you know, good conversation, I've learned something, let's move on. I hate the whole brushing under the rug thing, and I actually hate this. I like the fact that Ralfy's done the video on it, because it actually highlights the conversation, and I like these kind of debates and conversations, like my last video where I talked about collectors, because that some people have an issue with being called a collector, some people have an issue with collectors, the different types. You know, I wanted to explore that, and so this is another thing that, you know, has come to the fore in this last week, and I've wanted to discuss it because I think it's important. And I think, you know, one of the things that Ralfy didn't address was like the other side of the story. He sits atop his noble steed and looks down on the rest of us, and thinks that, you know, if you accept a gift, then you're not independent. And he has his view, but he doesn't really try and see it from any other perspective. And he calls them gifts, which, you know, if somebody gives you a gift, you kind of feel like you need to give something back. But, you know, if somebody just, it's not like it's a gift, because it can, a lot of the times come from a company, not one person. So it's not necessarily a gift. Why not call it a freebie or a sample? I mean, that's all it is. Like, McMira make a lot of this stuff, you know, and they sent me one bottle out of many, many thousands. So essentially, it's just a sample. Okay, it's a full bottle, so it's a big sample. But, you know, it uses, just using those terms leads viewers down a kind of a sort of path. It's a rhetoric, it is like what Ralfy is dead against, this like kind of, everybody knows that Ralfy likes a bit of a conspiracy, but that whole kind of media thing, the way that they are, or the way that they can be, he's probably dead against that. But yet, just that little terminology that he's using in his video pushes a certain rhetoric and a way of his thinking, an agenda, his own agenda on other people, and I don't like that. And I don't like, I didn't like how Erik did it as well. Of that very general, sweeping statement about all whiskey tubers should be like this, meaning like, what, just Ralfy and him aren't. And when I quizzed him on it, like, so who are these people? Let's talk about it. If you've got facts, if you've got something to say, even if you don't maybe have any facts, but you're just like, if you suspect because somebody's saying a really rubbish whiskey is great, then leave a comment on their video. Don't cast this general murky, hazy cloud over everybody, because I'm in a group of whiskey tubers that we all chat. Must be 10 or more of us now, and I don't think anybody is interested in having their opinion swayed by getting a freebie. It's like, why would they? Who cares? It's just a free bottle of whiskey, or like a small sample bottle. Why would that sway anybody's opinion? I just don't get it. Why? This is one of the other things. I'm like, are the Ralfys and the Eriks, is it like a projection of their own fear of falling into that trap? I mean, is it like they don't trust themselves if they were offered these freebies or accepted these freebies? Because for me, I just don't care. Like, if you give me a bottle of whiskey and it's shit, I'm gonna say it's shit. I would hope that I could give some kind of reasons to back any of the statements up that I give, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. So, I mean, that was the kind of main thing. I think one of the other things, one of the reasons that I'm now making this video is because I don't feel like I can reach out to Erik and say, let's have a reasoned discussion about this on a live or something like that, because he did the whole deleting and censorship of the discussion that we had, which I actually think was a valuable discussion. Loads of good points were made in it, and now all that information is just gone. One of the key things about this video, or the reason for this video, is I want to understand what other people think. So, is Erik in the right? Am I in the right? Are we both wrong? Are we both right? Is there grey areas? Are you a black and white person? Comments below, please, because I really value your opinion. I loved the whole the conversation around the collecting stuff. It confirmed a few things for me, but obviously there's new stuff as well. So I've really learned a lot, and I'd like to know about this as well. So the question, I guess, would be, do you feel that if a whiskey tuber that you watch accepts free bottles, one, that they're now not independent, and two, whether you still trust their reviews, and you think that they're going to be swayed? For me, I mean, I know who I am. I know what kind of person I am. There's no way a free bottle of whiskey is going to deviate me from my thoughts, my path, whatever. I can see how, it's fairly small fry. I mean, but this is what everybody's talking about. It's talking about freebies and gifts, right? But I can see how it could get bigger in terms of, maybe you've got a book out, like Ralfy does, and maybe you don't want to make too many enemies in the industry because you want to sell this book, or you want them to say that's a great book, or there's like this whole kind of publishing, marketing stuff that, if you're working in the industry and you're making money from the industry, then I can see how relationships could get a little bit blurred and all the rest of it. But where are these whiskey tubers that make money in the whiskey industry? I don't really know of any. I'm sure there is some, but none of the guys that I chat with, all the other whiskey tubers that I know and that I watch, don't make their money in whiskey. You know, they're pretty much self-financing their whole whiskey journey, just like we all are, apart from maybe the odd freebie or sample given to us by viewers or whatever. So yeah, that's the main thing that I want out of this video, is other people's opinions. One of the other things that I just wanted to simply highlight what had been said, where it had come from, and the discussion. You know, obviously you've missed it now. You can't see what Erik and I were discussing. It was pretty good stuff. But you can see on the Whiskey Trialers group on Facebook, there's a good article written by Menno, which I posted, and then we got a good bit of discussion going there on my Facebook group. So that's been really interesting. So head over there as well. You know, Erik, feel free. I'm here if you want to do a live, or if you want to do a response video to this response video. Totally up to you. I'm open for chats. And I ended the comments on Erik's Facebook post that got deleted. I ended them by saying that I completely respect Ralfy and Erik. Their whiskey knowledge is like second to none. I've learned so much from their channels. I finished the sort of debate making sure that Erik knew that I respected him, and that you know, there's no hard feelings. I felt like it was just a good debate, and yeah, that was that. They're both excellent whiskey tubers. So on that note, I'll finish with my freebie whiskey from McMira. Thanks guys. I mean, this one's really good actually. And yeah, it's like sherried bananas. Sherried bananas, this one, which is always nice. I know, yeah, probably young whiskey, but if you like that kind of banana flavour in your whiskey, then it's good, and I do, so what can I say? Anyway guys, let's have a discussion about this. Make it reasoned. I promise I won't delete the video, Erik. Let's have some comments, or post a response video, or like come on a live. We can have a little chat about it. I think it's a very interesting topic. Yeah. Anyway, let's call it there, and I look forward to everybody's comments. Slow Jack. I'll link everything in the description, guys. Menno's article, the discussion on my Facebook group, the Whiskey Trialers, and of course Ralfy's video, which started it all.